Hello, Simon. Very
Hi.
welcome to Hartheim in beautiful
Stephan.
Odenwald.
Thank you. Nice for welcoming me here.
Ladies and gentlemen that you brought with you, hopefully you'll have a really interesting and nice tour today within our company. And behind your great bus you can see our basically our headquarters, which was founded here with the founder's house in the year 1863. So it's almost 163 years old now. You have the big assembly hall, and we'll take a tour in 2 minutes. I think all the people and your listeners know you quite well. Maybe just shortly introduce myself. My name is Stephan Eirich. I represent the 5th generation of the shareholder family. And since 2012, I'm president of the Eirich group here in Germany. My background is mechanical engineering, process engineering. And this is also what I still like to do best today, is working on sales, technology, and thinking about new business and opportunities into the future. We'll take a tour in our founder's house, the museum, and as well as the big assembly hall, and give you a little bit more insights.
All right, I'm looking forward.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
So here, welcome to our museum. This is where we show a little bit about our history and what makes Eirich move. This is where we try to explain a little bit about our very long history, which meanwhile is more than 160 years old. In the year 2013, when we had our 150 years anniversary, we decided to make a little room where we start collecting all the ancient products that we still found in our warehouses. And also we have a lot of documentation that we decided to bring together and present in these rooms here. One of the targets was to start a little bit with the founding years, 1863, where in Hartheim we did not have electricity, there was a little running water, and the streets were not even paved. And from there on, we tried to show a little bit about the development of the company and the history with the different decades, which starts until the beginning of 1900. Then we have the time until the First World War and Second World War, then followed by the 50s and 60s, where I think mainly automation kicked in, and we started moving into the world and becoming a really global international business. So let's look a little bit at some of the very interesting things that we can share with you here today.
Okay.
So after the development for several decades for agricultural products, my great-great-grandfather, Gustav Eirich, discovered a need for industrial mixing, especially of building materials and later on also other industry materials. One of the developments that he started after developing the very first ring draw mixers was the so-called planetary mixer, which was already patented more than 100 years ago, so in the years 1903, 1904. And here you can see some of the very, very early patents from those times, so almost 120 years old, that show some of the models that were built at that time in order to explain the working principle to the very first customers in that time. From here on, you can see a little bit the different products that evolved over time. And if we go just 20 or 30 years later, you see the first smaller production mixers from the year, I think 1939 is this one, which still shows a very simple design, which was typical for that time, and especially the electric engines were not available that freely as today. So with only one motor, you had to drive all the different power functions of the machine. And if you look at the inside of the machine, this still shows the early Eirich mixing principle with the rotating mixing pan, as well as the counter-rotating tools inside the mixer. This was in combination now the first time presented to the market with a skip hoist, which is used for bringing the material into the mixer. And the second thing is then that we had a fully automated discharge gate for deploying the material downstream into the next processing equipment. From the 30s and 40s, we now slowly move into the next decades. This is a mixer from 1970s. It's a so-called DE14. Some of our customers might still recognize this because there's still a couple of those out there in the market.
Wow.
And still running.
Okay.
I mean, this was a machine that has had a life of maybe 30, 40 years of working. And this is what we also try to preserve. But what you still see here is the early design of the machine with the rotating mixing pan. We have the rotating tools inside, and we have the static wall and bottom scraper here. And this mixing principle you still find in our machines today. And I think our head of process engineering, Dr. Gerl, will show you a little bit more modern version later on during the tour. So we'll start the tour through our production with the raw material and the material flow, which goes from raw material storage, warehouse, through the laser cutting, bending and machining areas. So come on this way and we'll look at the different materials that we use for production of our mixers. So besides the sheet metal, we of course have a lot of lengthy material, all different dimensions, which is brought in here, and we'll look at the saw in 2 minutes. From here, we go on our laser, watch your step, where we feed the laser with the different sheet materials up here for automatic batches that can run in a second and third shift. And then you see here our laser cutting machine and the corresponding CNC bending. So after the parts have been cut, they're also assigned to different work orders. And from those work orders, they then go into the different welding cells where they're either welded with each other or they go for machining, which we'll see in the next step. For the lengthy material, which has to be cut from 3 or 4 meter bars, we have different kinds of CNC saws, which you can see here. And this is then being put together with the sheet materials in the different work orders according to the customer projects. A very big specialty I think I want to show you definitely here during your visit is our blacksmith. So definitely we still have parts from the 60s, 70s, which are still manufactured and sold today as spare and wear parts. But even some of our modern machines still have parts and pieces. So one of the typical parts you can see here is this a big stainless steel bar that has been cut with a plasma cutter and which will now be bent into a round format, and this is going to be done by our blacksmith. So this is something which is still very unique, to have this very old traditional business of a blacksmith right next to the modern laser and CNC machines. So here what you can see, these are tool holders, still just a round bar which has been cut with the CNC saw, and after the blacksmith and the colleague here heats them up until they're red and glowing, they will go on the hammer press, which will bring them into shape, and from there on they will go into CNC where they get some holes for drilling. And this is still a very common spare part we're selling today. Unbelievable, but true.
Wow.
Of course, we have different generations of machines in action. This is one of the newer models, which is then usually feeding the machine by a robot. And on this side, you can see the very big machining center, which is used for the large frames, the machine frames, where the colleague is just fixing one of the parts here. This machine is going to be replaced in the next couple of months. It's also already, I think, 15 years old. Yeah, and then I think these are the very regular CNC machines and the lathes that you can see in operation here.
Yes.
With a mixing pan here, stainless steel, sitting and waiting for its machining.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the very old machines we still have in operation, and I would say we're almost proud of it to keep it alive, is our big lathe, which we use for the mixing pans and some of the reinforcement rings. We could invest into a big carousel, but this machine is basically running a few hours a week. And the guys that run it, they also still love it because it's all manual and it
Yeah.
never breaks. And that's
Yeah.
the good thing about it.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, and then here you see the big drilling machine, which we use for drilling our wear plates, where we have lots of holes in there, which was, when I was a kid, was still manual work. And we were standing there for hours and almost days to do the drilling. And today is also easy. So just
Robotized.
done by a CNC machine in a few working minutes.
Okay.
And here on the left hand, you can see the area where we roll and build our mixing pans. This is part of it. There's a second area in the rear. But this is, I think, one of the core competencies where, of course, we need a perfectly round shape of our mixing pan. And this is produced here, including the wear parts, which are just now assembled into the inside of the machine. I'll take a short look inside. So here you see the different wear plates, which are then assembled into the machine. And then on the inside, you can see this is a steel plating on the wall and a high wear resistance plates on the bottom of the machine.
Yeah.
So earlier you saw one of the big scale hoppers which we use. So we not only manufacture the mixers themselves, but also the periphery which is needed for our mixers. So the material has to come in some direction from the silos into the mixer and the outgoing parts of the mixer. And here we see also one of the vessels which are used for keeping liquids in part of our plant. And this is something we also manufacture and assemble here at our site here in Germany. So from here we'll walk in our manufacturing building where we do the final assembly of our mixers, and we also see the paint jobs which are happening there. Here we are. This is where the magic happens and the machines are finally being put together. This was built in 2013, basically around our 150 years anniversary. And all bigger machine types are coming here for the final assembly, and then also later on the final inspection of the machine before maybe the customer comes for the final inspection of the machine. This is our so-called Mola. We call it Montage and Lackierhalle. This is basically where everything comes together for the bigger machine types. We've seen earlier on the other premises where we do the final assembly of our lab mixers, the periphery equipment, the scale hoppers, etc. And this is where we concentrate on the big mixers. So what we see here is that different manufacturing areas for the assembly of the very big mixer types. And each of these areas is assigned to a certain project. And for that project will come all the parts from the warehouse will come here according to the different process steps and then be assembled in a course of maybe 2 to 3 weeks. What we can see here on the right side are also again some very special equipment for the carbon industry, which is insulated and heated. So this is the reason why this is also being assembled here. It's a little more complicated and sophisticated. So Simon, you remember the other machine we saw in the Museum,
Yeah.
which was from 1976. Now it's 50 years later, and this is what a 500-liter mixer looks today. This is of course not for concrete as the other machine. This is way more sophisticated, as you can see, with all the pipes and cables and the stainless steel design. This is one of the machines for a gigafactory in the lithium-ion industry. The main assembly area where all the sub-assemblies come together in those racks, then provided for the final assembly of the equipment. And here you can see a machine which is also almost 90% finished. And they just already started to do the wiring and the final inspection of the greasing pumps, gear motors, etc. And yeah, from here we go all the way back through that black gate, rear gate. This is where the packaging happens. Most of the machines go overseas, so they get a big wooden crate. And then the shipment happens via truck to one of the harbors in the region.
Got it.
So here is basically our paint shop for the bigger parts. And this is where you see then the parts get their color, first with the primer and then final finish according to customer requirements. We can do almost all rainbow colors, so whatever the customer wishes for. Okay, and now after seeing our final assembly hall over here with the produced machines, we'll now come to our test center. And Dr. Stephan, our head of the test center and business director for the lithium-ion business, will be meeting you here. And I think he will also be doing some trials and tests with you for some dry material preparation for the electrodes. And here he comes.
Forward.
I wish you...
Hello, Simon.
Hi, Stephan.
Nice to meet
meeting
you. Welcome in the world of the test center of the Eirich group.
Yes, I'm looking forward to explore how the machines that are built are now being used.
Yeah.
So I would hand over to Dr. Gerl and leave you in his capable hands for a joyful afternoon within our test center and a lot of new ideas for all our viewers what we can do here with Eirich technology.
Right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And enjoy the day, and glad you were here. Thank you very much for coming to see us.
Thanks for all the insights.
Have a good time.
Okay, Simon, now we are entering the test area where we typically make our customer tests. Customers are coming in here. They want to learn about our machinery, our equipment, how we can solve their problem. So they're not having in mind an exact machine or design. They have a problem like how to make a slurry, how to make a dry battery electrode mix in the best way, and we show them here with our capabilities and our machinery how to do this. We have on one side we have large-scale mixes for doing the scale-up, and on the other side we have small-scale machinery for doing lab-scale trials for the initial testing. I want to show you some customer tests today. Let's have a look into the details how we're doing this with customers. Here we have a test hub up with some Eirich engineers learning how to do a dry battery electrode. And this is Xiaoyan San. Hello, nice to meet you. She's an battery expert for the Asian market. She has, let's say, learned here for many, many years. And now we have prepared the test in the way that we have to add the PTFE to show the fibrillation step for making dry battery electrode. So we are mixing LFP dry battery electrode and now have to add the PTFE, which is a quite tricky material because it's very sticky and temperature sensitive, and we can add this during the mixer running. So you see PTFE is weighed in, the coarse-grained material falling into the machine. Now we're doing a short dry mixing time, and then we can see that the material is homogeneously incorporated into the cathode material mix. It takes roughly a minute, and then we are finished, and then we can show the sample for the video camera. So now we can take a sample of this homogenized mix. And you can see that you don't see any white spots. So the PTFE is homogeneously incorporated into the mix at this time. And it's still a powder. So there's nothing fibrillated. You cannot form it to an electrode. It's just a powder mix. And now we start fibrillating the material. So we close the machine again and then run on higher speed to make then the electrode mix. So now we are fibrillating the mix for a few minutes until we have a complete change in the properties of the material. Now we have seen the complete process steps for making dry battery electrode mixes, from adding the PTFE into the cathode material, fibrillating the material, and then transferring it to a bulk material. More details we will then, let's say, discuss in our podcast.